There we go. And then I'm just going to share my screen. And start with a slideshow. Hopefully you can all see that, which is really good. So again, thank you very much for coming along this afternoon to listen to myself and my colleagues talking about graduate opportunities with Matalan. So myself, I am Melissa Parler. I am working in the early careers and apprenticeship role at Matalan. That basically is involving all the talent attraction in the early careers sector. So that could be work experience, year-long placements and graduate roles. And I'm joined today by Callum, who's a campaign assistant with us. He's an EHU alumni, graduated from EHU in a business management with marketing degree. And we'll give you a bit of an insight into his journey so far from graduate into role and what he's doing with Matalan at the moment. So I don't want to dwell too long on these slides, but just to give you a bit of an insight into why you might choose Matalan for your graduate career. So one of the UK's leading home and fashion retailers, offering quality fashion and home products for outstanding value to our customers from out of town locations. We are predominantly based out of town in the big retail parks, but we do have a couple of high street options as well. The nearest to the northwest would be the Williamson Square store in Liverpool City Centre, but we do have some others in Cardiff, Leeds, and obviously Oxford Road in London as well. We are based in Knowsley in Liverpool, so that's where head office is. So if successful into one of our graduate roles, you would also be based from that building in Knowsley. Really successful business, opened our first store in Preston in 1985. Now got over 230 stores across the UK. The latest of them was opened really recently in Cheshire Oaks, just before Christmas. So yeah, still continuing to open stores. Got some more planned for the UK and also some more planned for our international stores as well. So they are mainly in the Middle East, Egypt, Gibraltar, Jordan, Malta, all those sorts of places. And they're run by a franchise model. Real responsibility. We offer real life experiences and you are a trusted and valued member of the team, and any students joining us post graduation or even on placement really enjoy that responsibility that you get in your role, and how we sort of help you develop that moving forward as well. And then we are continuously evolving as a business, more now than ever before. Obviously, the last 18 months has been really difficult to navigate, both just as a company in the UK, but also as a retailer. So we've made lots of changes and adapted in some ways, which has meant that the business has continued to develop and evolve, which is really, really good. Why Matalan? Some of the reasons that people sort of choose as an employer and want to know about how we, or our stance on these areas. So we are really keen to continue to look at our sustainability and our carbon footprint. And we obviously are a global company in the fact that we deal with a supply chain that covers most parts of the world, and so we have to be really aware about how we move our product about, but also how it's made, the processes that we use to source our fabrics, create our products. So it is something that we're really, really proud of that we do. We do a lot of recycling at head office. We recycle all of the hangers within Matalan are recycled and used up to 5 times. That's obviously a really key drive that we do. We also look at our carbon emissions. So Matalan owns its fleet of wagons, and we've recently updated all of the engines to be more carbon efficient. And we've also brought in some double-decker wagons, which means that you can get more product in. You've got less wagons on the road, and obviously hopefully fewer miles being done over the course of a year. In terms of charity work, we work with a couple of charity, let's go back one. We work with a couple of charity partners that we're really proud of. So that would be the NSPCC and also the Alder Hey Children's Charity. The Alder Hey charity is probably the one that you're more aware of because we do the Big Bang campaign every Christmas. But from part with the NSPCC, we are ongoing, we are an ongoing partner of theirs, and we raise money to support a call centre / respite centre just outside Liverpool, which is named after the Hargreaves family, who obviously founded Matalan back in 85. Wellbeing is something that's really important to us as well. Another charity we work with is the Retail Trust, and they actually host our Wellbeing Hub, and that is accessible to any Matalan employee, no matter what contract they're on, temp or permanent. You can access this Wellbeing Hub and get a lot of information and resources to sort of support you in your role. It also is available to families of those people that work for us. So it means that everybody has got access to the resources that are available, and they look after four types of well-being. So it's emotional, physical, financial, and vocational, which is sort of related back to career. So wellbeing is something that we were always really, really proud to sort of represent. And actually, even pre-pandemic, we'd upskilled all of our line managers on how to be a better line manager in regards to wellbeing, signs to look out for in their team members, and making sure that we're having open conversations. And obviously, we've just continued with that all throughout the pandemic and obviously post-pandemic as well. And then development is really key. We do want to bring you into a role where you can develop both in role and obviously for promotional purposes as well. And we do have a dedicated talent development team that work on all of those programs, all of those masterclasses, workshops, and technical and behavioural skills to develop you in your role. So head office is, I mentioned before, in Knowsley. So it's basically Kirby, suburbs of Liverpool. Really easily accessible by both car and public transport. We do have free on-site parking as well. And then there is breakout areas, an on-site canteen, and discounted Costa coffee. So although we are on the industrial park, we do have all the facilities that you need on site. So you don't need to kind of be driving to find lunch and things unless you wanted to. But yeah, we do have everything on site for people to access while working with us. So I'd also touch on our values as part of the presentations that I do. I think it's really important, no matter what role you're looking for, when you do graduate, that you understand the companies that you're applying for, and you know their values, you know their ethos, what underpins them, why they exist, if you will. So the 4 values that we work to are think customer, think family, be real, and be the best. I talk about it in presentations. Some companies don't, but they will have it on their website. So they are normally quite easy to find if you're looking for a particular company's values and mission statement. So think customer, if it doesn't add value, we won't do it. And we put our customers first in everything we do. Think family relates to our people. We know together we're stronger, and we're proud to be part of the Matalan family. Be real is all about being down to earth and showing trust and respect, and treating each other as obviously you would want to be treated yourself. And be the best is about learning from mistakes and challenging ourselves to be the best that we can. And that links in again to the development side of things I was talking about before. So opportunities that we have, we do have 12-month paid placements. They are 4 sandwich courses. That would be your 3rd year of a 4-year course. I did a presentation earlier today around those placements. If you want a bit more information specifically about that, then there is a recording going to be shared of that session this morning. We do offer short-term work experience as well, though. So I know that quite a lot of the students at Edge Hill need to complete 115 hours in the spring. And again, that is something that we do try and support with as much as possible. Obviously, because there is a lot of students, we can't accommodate everybody, but where we can, and if we think we've got the roles that would suit, we will do our best to do that. And that is unpaid work experience, but it will be based out of the head office in Knowsley. And then we have graduate roles. Our graduate roles are done on a as and when the need is their basis. So it's not a graduate scheme. It isn't open at a certain point and close at a certain point. We recruit throughout the whole year, and it's just as and when a particular team has a need. And that might be due to promotions within that team, new roles being created, or obviously resignations and people moving on to other businesses, which obviously leaves gaps as well at the graduate level. Just let Kate back in. These are the kind of roles that might be suitable for a graduate. So trade assistant buyer, merchandiser, junior designer. We have graduate marketing assistant and digital marketing assistant roles, e-com roles, trainee accountant, which obviously sits within finance, junior garment technology, and HR coordinator. That's a handful. I couldn't list every graduate opportunity on here. It would be reams and reams, but just to give you a bit of a flavour, there is a lot of different opportunities for people with different degree backgrounds available. And then we do offer real responsibility. We're really, really keen that anyone that comes into role is doing a role that's going to be beneficial to them. And obviously not from day one. There is a bit of sort of induction and onboarding and sort of to do, but very early on you'll get involved in some of your own tasks and responsibilities to sort of start driving that development. As I said before, we do offer some good rewards and benefits on site, and the L&D team, or the talent development team as they're now referred to, can offer you lots of different ways of to develop and grow in your role. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen in a moment, and we'll get Callum to introduce himself and give you a little bit of an insight into his journey with Matalan so far, and obviously some tips in terms of what he took away from obviously his time at Edge Hill, but also when gaining a role. So I'll just stop sharing my screen 1 second and come back here. Callum, if you want to turn your video and mic on. I can indeed. Hopefully everyone...
Okay.
No problem. Thank you so much. So I'll just hand over to now to give a bit of an insight, if you will, into your your journey experience so far. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So just a little bit about me before I kind of go into the role. So I graduated from Edge Hill University, I think it was June this year. I was studying business management with marketing as a side. So my last year at uni would have been during the pandemic, which it's not ideal, but a lot of it was working from home, which I think it kind of put me in good stead when working with Matalan, because they do offer kind of like a flexi working, so you can work from home 3 days a week, work in the office 2 days a week. Sorry, other way around, work in the office 3 days a week, home 2 days a week. And you'll be using Teams a lot, and kind of working at university during the pandemic kind of helped me with that loads, because I didn't have a clue how to use it beforehand. So yeah, as I say, I graduated in June. I applied for Matalan just before I graduated, so in May. So luckily Matalan were very accommodating, so I hadn't graduated, but as a women in a graduate role, they kind of took into account that I was due to graduate. So they were very accommodating with that. They let me go through the interview process and everything before I even graduated. I secured the role in May, but they wanted me to graduate before I started, so I started in June. So I am now a campaign marketing assistant for Matalan. I've been in the role for 6 months. My kind of day-to-day at Matalan is, so I do a lot of the reporting. So any campaigns that we do, anything like that, I'll pull together spreadsheets, reports, and kind of feed them back to the CRM team. And then they'll kind of base their decision-making processes off that. I also deal with a lot of the campaign delivery. So any of your emails, if you sign up to the Matalan newsletter, any of your emails you get, even kind of the mailer stuff. So if you get, I don't know if any of you shop at Matalan, but you get mailers through the door. I help with all the kind of segmentation, so picking the customers to send to, and then segmenting them, and then sending it to them. So as I said, I've been in a role for 6 months. One of the reasons I kind of picked Matalan over anywhere else was I wanted to know that there was progression available in the company I was going to, because I didn't want to kind of, job hop, work 6 months here, work 6 months there. So in my interview process, I did ask, what are kind of the progression opportunities like? And I mean, I say that was the reason that I kind of picked the job. They told me that, there was a clear structure in place of, you work here for X amount of time, you put in the hours. When a role is open, I should say, they will consider you for that role, which I think is good, because you don't want to keep changing jobs. You want to build your foundation as one company, work your way up. But that's how I wanted to do it anyway. So I say I'm an assistant at the moment, but I'm hoping when an opportunity opens that I can move up to an executive. I say I don't know when that will happen, but I know that it is in the pipeline for an opportunity. So another benefit of Matalan, and kind of one of the reasons I applied was, it sounds lazy, but the application process was so simple. A lot of companies I applied for, you were having to do page after page after page of generic questions, quizzes, typing out everything that's already on your CV. Whereas with Matalan, it was very easy. There was one questionnaire, one kind of drop in for your CV, so you're not repeating yourself. and then the interviews go from there. So you can kind of sell yourself in your interviews rather than just having to type, answer a lot of generic questions that don't actually mean anything to you. Yeah, but they're a great company to work for. They're very flexible with kind of when you can work and where you work. So I live about an hour away from the head office. So getting to the office, it costs a lot in petrol. It's not ideal, but they've kind of allowed me to work from home, kind of like a flexi work system. So I can work from home 3 days a week, like I was saying before, go in the office 2 days a week. They're also kind of flexible with the time as well. So I do work another job kind of on the side, just if and when. But Matalan have said to me, so the normal working hours are, I think it's 8:30 till 5:30, or 5, sorry. Matalan have basically said to me that I can start at 7:30. If I need to finish at 4, I can leave at 4. If I've got something on in the morning, like a doctor's appointment, I can start a bit later and finish later. They're very accommodating. It's not, oh, you have to come in at this time, leave at this time. If you do speak to them, they're very accommodating for you. Another thing that kind of sold me on the job was they offer kind of training courses and personal development for yourself, like Melissa was saying before. So they offered, if you wanted to do a master's, they will kind of accommodate that. They will help you through the process, even help you apply for it. And I forgive me if I'm wrong, I don't know if Matalan fund it. Don't know if I'm wrong on that one. You have to correct me on that.
It is through, if we can, we do it through the Apprenticeship Levy. So yeah, in a roundabout way, it's funded by Matalan, in the fact that it's quite a detailed thing, but basically every year Matalan pay a certain amount of tax into an apprenticeship levy, and then we get that back to spend on apprenticeships. So we put that back into the development of people in the teams, and that's where we can fund, as you said, masters for people. It could be other courses that are sort of technical for your role, so it might be something to do with one of the systems that you're using, or I know we're currently rolling out all of our training assistant merchandisers are going on an Excel upskill, and that's kind of coming from that fund as well. So it goes back into the business in training, but yeah, you are right, we can fund masters or anything that we think is going to develop that person, both in role, but as you said, personally as well.
Yeah, I've been offered the same thing. So I need to use a coding thing called SQL. It's like, sequences, and I don't know anything about computer coding, but Matalan have kind of turned around and said to me, if it's going to help you in your role, we will pay for you to go on this course and kind of help benefit you, which I think is really good, because I wouldn't have had a clue how to do it otherwise. So yeah, just a little bit of advice on how I secured the graduate role. I mean, this sounds, if you have, if you know exactly what you want to do and you have a dream job, then by all means go for it. But I was very open to different opportunities. CRM and campaign marketer wasn't my first choice and wasn't what I thought. I never even heard of it. But when, just scrolling through the job list, I seen it. Just be open to different opportunities, because, as I say, this wasn't even on my radar. And then I looked at it, applied for it, and thought, oh, that sounds exactly like something I want to do. And just apply for everything, even if you feel underqualified. As I say, I didn't know what CRM was before I applied. I knew it was under the marketing branch, but I didn't do that module at Chill. To just apply for it, I got the job, and I didn't think I was qualified for it, and turns out I am. Excuse me. Another thing is kind of even if you apply for a job and you think, oh, I don't want to do that, but they offer you an interview, just take every interview that you can. I've had umpteen interviews for jobs which I didn't really want to do after thinking about it, but kind of having that experience and how to deal with interviews, the questions you're going to get asked, the type of questions, how to respond to them. I mean, it's a really good experience for you. And finally, kind of do your research beforehand, before the job, and even if if you're lucky enough to get off the job, do it after. Like I say, coming to the role, I didn't know much about CRM, and even after I got offered the role, we were told we use a system called Salesforce. I didn't know what Salesforce was, so I did research before actually my start date. And then when I came to using these systems, I kind of was more familiar around it, and it just helped me loads in kind of my whole training process. Especially, won't be as bad now because we were kind of during the pandemic still. A lot of it was working from home, it was independent learning, but it just put you in good stead kind of for your start date, and you kind of know what everyone's talking about, because you have to be a bit of a sponge, especially if you've not worked in an office industry before. It is very, like, it was a bit overwhelming at first, but if you just kind of do any preparation you can beforehand, it helps massively. Lastly, I'd say, I mean, I don't know if you use it, I only started using it halfway through third year, is use LinkedIn if looking for graduate roles. LinkedIn was massive for me. Beforehand, I was just on Indeed, Read, looking for stuff like that. Couldn't find anything. I went on LinkedIn and there was jobs galore on there. So that's where I found Matalan. It was easy to apply, like I said, and you can sell yourself, put your achievements in your bio. network with people who work in the industry, network with people who work at the career you want to go to. I started following people on Matalan. I hadn't even got an interview yet, and I was following everyone on Matalan. But it just helps kind of network and kind of get a feel for the kind of people that work in the industry that you want to work in.
Good
That's
stuff.
it from me.
Thank you very much. No, that's brilliant, Callum. Thank you so much for advice. I think the LinkedIn thing, I'll echo that as well. If you want to connect with myself or any of the talent team, we always look after the recruitment side of things. But as Callum said, just connect with people that are in those teams you want to work in as well, because most of the time it is a networking tool. They will connect with you, and you can always drop them a little quick message before applying, just to say any hints and tips and stuff. And in the main, they will want to help you and support you with that, because actually they've been in your position. They've been graduates before, they've been looking for roles, and they're really open to sort of helping in that way. The chat box is open. So while I'm just sharing the final part of these slides, if anyone's got any questions for myself or Callum, drop them in the chat box. And then once I've finished these slides, we'll come back and see if there's any questions there for us to finish off on. So I'll just reshare my screen. Just make sure you guys can all see that. Can you see that, Callum?
No, not yet. It's still your camera.
Yeah. Okay. Wait there 1 second. That better? Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So I'll just drop that down. Slide. So some top tips, I think actually myself and Callum have probably covered some of these already, but I think really, really important that you research the role, the brand and the business. So obviously that's referring back to the values, what they stand for, what's their history, but also, as Callum said, researching a bit more into the role, the job, because you can apply for it and then research between obviously applying and getting the interview, but just make sure you've got a bit of knowledge about what it is you're applying for. And that links back to the show passion. Obviously, to show passion for a role, you need to know what it is. So obviously, don't be afraid to ask questions pre-application and post-application. And I think LinkedIn's a really good platform to do that on. Make sure your CV is up to date as possible and relevant for the role that you're applying for. A good way of doing that is to sort of have your CV and the job spec side by side and just reference back between the job spec and the CV and make sure that everything that's in the criteria or the requirements, you're talking about that in your CV, about how you can show those skills or have got that knowledge. Being genuine, friendly and stand out from the crowd is obviously a key one for us. As Callum said, he didn't have a relevant experience as such in the area that he'd gone for, but actually he obviously showed a really good attitude and a really good personality that came across, and the guys have thought actually it's really good for our fit for our team. So sometimes it can be just down to sort of being friendly and open to learning that can secure the role for you. And obviously being as confident as possible. We recommend practicing and preparing beforehand as much as you can, utilising any of the systems or mock interviews or anything you can do with your career service, or even doing it with friends and family and just getting them to sort of ask you some interview questions so you can get into the habit of answering using the STAR approach or thinking about your experience and how you're going to adapt that for each role that you're interviewing for. So that's some tips from us. We would recommend that you follow us on social media. So we've mentioned LinkedIn a couple of times, but I would follow us on the other social channels as well. What you will get from that is a real good feel for the culture of Matalan and the things that we're doing from a company point of view. So it's the life at Matalan that you'd be following on Facebook, Insta and Twitter, rather than the Shop Matalan pages. And then on LinkedIn, it is just the Matalan page. And if you go on there and look for employees of Matalan, again, you'll find a list of people that work for us, potentially in the teams that you're looking to join, and you can connect with them as well. So I will just stop sharing the screen again, just to come back and see if there were any questions in the chat box. I don't think there were. There is a nice comment from Kate for Callum, just to say she can see why I got the role.
Thanks, Lizzie. Yeah, I just popped on, sorry, as well, because I just want to say a big thank you to you both. Sorry, just loitering in the background.
Not a problem at all.
Yeah, but no, thank you so much to you both. And obviously we'll catch up with you after, but, you know, from what you've covered there, some amazing kind of advice for the students. I just think, you know, please take all that on board. And I think what you were saying about LinkedIn as well, that's something that makes people quite nervous. And it's kind of like, what do I say in a message? Well, you know, is it irritating? What if people ignore me? And I think as well, what I'd say is obviously having been in your shoes as well is, do you know what, the recruiter may not have time to reply to you, and please don't take that personally, but they've seen your message. So it will have gone in to their subconscious, they will have seen your name, and it will ring a bell when they then see your application. So even if you do get ignored on LinkedIn, please don't take it personally, you know. And Melissa's great at getting back to us, I'm sure she won't. But, you know, it is still definitely worth doing, and just following and commenting under posts. It's amazing how powerful it is. But no, thank you from us. I can see that you've got a little couple of questions coming as well, or comments.
Yeah. So I would keep an eye on LinkedIn. We have a set number of job slots on there, so not every role goes on LinkedIn is the first thing I would say. So I'd always recommend looking at matalan.jobs, which is our jobs website. That's where all the vacancies will be. However, LinkedIn, we do have, I think, 10 or 11 slots that we sort of rotate roles into, but also myself and the team will share on our personal pages if we've got particular roles you want to sort of promote. And we also ask the teams to do that too. So Callum, you mentioned you'd seen it on LinkedIn. Was it on one of the actual job posts, or was it a post from one of the teams? Do you remember how you saw it?
Yeah, it was on. So I was just searching for marketing roles kind of in the Northwest area, and it just kind of came up on there.
Yeah.
So that's how I found it.
No problem at all. No problem at all. Yeah, asking about the tier 2 sponsorship, it's not something that we do at the moment. However, interestingly, I had a conversation with my manager about a week ago about this, about how we can become a sponsorship employer. Matalan as a company don't do this at all, and we really do think it's something we need to look into. So at the moment, unfortunately, we don't offer the sponsorship at either tier 2 or tier 5, but it is something we're looking into. And if you're not graduating until next year, potentially we might have something in place by then. So again, connect with me on LinkedIn. If we ever do sort of launch it, I'm sure we will be quite vocal about it across our social channels. So yeah, at the moment, it's not something we can offer, but let's kind of think about that for the future. And then Kate's just saying, make sure that we use the careers service, which I would really, really recommend that you do that. They are there with lots of hints and tips and platforms and things that you can use to practice. So I'll end the session there. Thank you very much for everyone for coming along today. Thanks, Callum, as well for sharing your information. I'll just stop that recording. Perfect.